Hey there everyone, Luke here, and now a lot of people are saying like, oh, this chapter 213, titled Childhood End Part 2, this is the final chapter of this arc. Now, again, I don't really see that. Now, I could be mistaken. We've still got to wait until Sunday for that to happen. But for now, I'm saying it's not the end of the arc, because for an arc called Childhood End, and this effectively being the end of part 2, The Adventures of the Small Witch, you expect this to be a longer arc. Like, I feel like this is going to incorporate the whole of the training arc, unless they just skip over the training arc, which that'll be a great disservice to not only Nico but also Charmy and Nemu if them two are going to go back, are going to go with Nico on this journey, because this chapter ends with Nico going away from there. So I'm going to expect to spend some time with Charmy and Nemu, like have those three together. But we'll see. We'll hopefully see on Sunday if that's going to be the case, or we're just going to skip to Nico coming back and being normal. But anyway, like I said, it's called Childhood Ends Part 2. So we'll just dive right into the chapter now. So it starts off from the end of the last chapter with Nico addressing Mori, giving the letter out, and the letter goes pretty much how I thought it would be. But before we get there, we have Mori saying, "Nico, you don't have to read it to me. You don't have to read it to me." So like all the suspense of like, oh my god, what's going to be in the letter? What's going to be in the letter? And Mori's like, nope. Don't have to read it to me, and everyone's just like, "Oh, come on, man, come on, bro, stop being like this, stop being like essentially a sourpuss, and just let Nico read this letter. She wrote it for you. You could at least let her read it." And Mori's there like, "No, I haven't really done anything to deserve this. I've simply done my duty as my duty demands it. That's all. If it was my choice, my decision. Getting thanks for that makes no sense." And yeah, Mori's going about this completely the wrong way, because Nico is pouring out all of her heart and soul to like, "This is what you've done for me, guys. This is how I view you guys. I'm thanking you for it." She's not saying it like, thank you for doing your duty. Like, she's treating it like, this is my family now, and I'm gonna thank them as if they were members of my family. And that's what Murray's not getting. He's just seeing it's like, this is just my duty to Nico. This is just my duty to Nico. Nothing else whatsoever. It's just my duty. And Nico even brings this up of like, really? This is the only reason you've ever done anything for me, because of duty. Like, you don't even care about how the childhood we grew up. Don't even care about everything we grew over. Don't even care that you nearly died and I sacrificed myself for you. You actually think like, oh no, this was all part of my duty, all part of the plan and everything. Don't you feel anything? Are you just doing it because your parents said so? Which is actually a good point. It's like, is this what Mori truly wants, or is he just doing it out of a sense of obligation between Nico's parents and his parents? Mori begins to counter back by saying like, no, it's not because I have to. And he's like, okay, fine, you want to know the truth about how I'm feeling about all of this, Nico? It's fine. So on that day, referring back to the day of disaster where he was shot by Shikimi, basically the main antagonist of the story, and Nico had to sacrifice herself to get him brought back to life, but also sacrificing her growth at that point in the process. He says, I didn't want this to happen to you because me. Like, Mori, in his mind, is still feeling guilty about what happened. The fact that he's here at the cost of what Nico had become at that point. He goes, I'm your bodyguard. If necessary, I will die for you. The first must never happen. So like, okay, the witch shouldn't die for the familiar. The familiar should die for the witch. That's what's going on in Mori's mind here. But Nico sees it completely differently. She's sacrificing herself for the one that she truly loves. So it's more of like a romance versus an obligation in the two minds that are battling here. And as Mori says, promise me you will never do anything like that. Essentially saying to Nico here, if it comes to it and I'm the one who has to sacrifice my life, let me sacrifice it for you, Nico. And just hearing Nico hear that when she's like finally starting to, in her mind, she's finally starting to realise, like, oh my god, I love Murray, not as a father-daughter, but like, I generally do love Murray and want to spend the rest of my life with him. To have that, and then to have him basically saying, like, it's my duty to sacrifice myself for you, so I'm going to sacrifice for you. Don't do it. Don't you sacrifice for me. Let me sacrifice for you. To hear him saying that to her, like, is potentially soul crushing for her at this point, because again, she's pouring her heart and soul out at these moments, and he's just there, like, basically throwing it back in her face, throwing back her how she feels about Murray in her face because of duty and his own self-worth in the series. And of course, what does she do? But it's just like, fine, if you're gonna feel like that, I'm gonna boot you on out of here. As everyone is like, oh my god, she's going out at night on her own. We have to split up and find her. But Murray is like, Murray is just frozen at that point. Like, you can see it, like, on his face, like, just like, oh, why is she speeding double like that? And Khan is just like, Morihito, read the room. She's poured her feelings out for us. She was about to do it for you, and you just spat it back in her face. There is a time and a place to do things. Now and what you did was not the time to do this. So, and you shouldn't say that stuff out loud. At least try to think how Nico feels at this point. So we get the title page as Morihito essentially finds out where Nico is, because of course he knows her very well. He knows where she would go in these situations, and even Nico is like, oh, even though I ran away, it's no wonder you found me here. So at this point, Murray begins to apologise to Nico. I guess whilst he was walking there, he was like, yeah, maybe I did go a bit too overboard. No, you think you did, Murray, but again, he apologises to her, saying like, you saved my life, and I had to go and act like that. Yeah, you'd think, Murray, you'd think that was the time and place to say stuff like that. But Nico, being Nico, is like, no, it's okay. I know how important I am to you. As we do get Murray's perspective on everything that's gone on from pretty much the prelude to the series right up until this point, when he says, I was born an ogre in a human world, and my mum died when I was still young. For most of my life, I've had no idea of who I was or what I'm supposed to do, but then I was told I had a duty to protect you. And again, it is great that he has thinking about that, like, okay, it's my solemn duty to protect this girl, but at the same time, it's kind of made him feel a little bit blind, a little bit arrogant and egotistical at times, in sense of like, I'm the only one that can protect her, and not really thinking about like, is this what he really wants, or is it like just like a sense of like, I've got to do this because I've been told to do this, not something I really want. And again, you can still have the part of like, you love this girl, but at the same time you also want to protect her. You can still have both of them more. You've just got to figure it out in that thick skin of yours, like very thick skin and thick skull, so thick that you can't even see when things are coming at you until it's directly told to you. And he carries on and says, all of a sudden I felt like the world opened up to me, referring to when everyone started coming into his life, not just Nico, but also Khan, Miryu, Keigo, Nemu, Ban, the lot, the gang and everyone. He's done things his own way, mostly ignoring this world, but after he started living together, his life was so bright, so much brighter and fuller. And I love that fact that we're seeing this whilst he still has the most stoic, expressionless, emotionless expression on his face. To me, serving you gave me life's meaning. That's just the kind of person I am. And it is. But again, like, you can still have more to it than just being like, oh, I am a servant of Nico, I'm a familiar, I'm a bodyguard, nothing more. You can still have more to it than just those aspects, Maury. And he continues on by saying, describe protecting you as just a duty was a poor phrasing on my part, and I apologise. So again, it's nice that, after like going on at that point and all the arguments and everything that's happened between these last two chats, it's nice like he took a step back and was like, okay, yeah, I did say that was a bit of a dick move on my part, so maybe I should go and apologise profusely to Nico. And yeah, he even admits that. So I'm glad he's self-aware of the fact that, yeah, sometimes he can take his words a bit too far and he can come across as cold and emotionless and not really giving the impression that he cares about his friends. So yeah, it's nice that he's self-aware in that aspect. But Nico does pull out the letter and it's revealed that it's complete blank. She wrote nothing down, which is a twist that, hey, it did linger in the back of my mind, like the week between last chapter and this chapter, that maybe it was a blank page, but it's nice to actually have that confirmation. And it was something that, even though it was lingering in the back of my mind, it was still surprising that they actually went there. As Nico explains, like the reason that she didn't want to write down something pre-prepared was because she couldn't figure out the best way to thank him other than speaking directly from the heart. So, like, literally going up to him and speaking to him, because to Mori, Nico is the most important person in her life, and she can't just write that down all in a letter with limited space. She needs to actually pour her heart and soul out to him, speak to him directly so that he gets the picture right away. So Mori at this point is like, okay, I'm ready to listen. What have you got, Nico? As everyone starts to come and see it, and as they see it, they hide behind bushes. Like, okay, they'll probably feel like, okay, we do not want to ruin this moment by being there. Like, these two need to be together to get this moment out in the open between these two. So as everyone is watching, Nico finally starts to say her letter out loud from the heart, and it states that she can't never be truly thankful enough for what Murray has done for her from the beginning of part 2 up till now, raising her with the care and dedication of her parents. Because of that, she got to experience so many things that she never really had a chance the first time around, because she's the witch of a thousand. She's probably spent her whole life training to master all 1,000 of these spells. So she never got to experience gathering around the table and eating together as a family, chatting together, laughing together. Never even got to go to elementary school, middle school like a normal girl. Probably was homeschooled by her mother and the other witches while she was trained, which would make sense. That high school would be the first time that she was actually socialising with people her own age. Whenever she had a recital, Murray was there for her, and every time he praised her even a little, that made her feel great about everything. And this is where she just starts to bawl her eyes out. Like, it seems to be like just building up until she breaks and says, I didn't have a dad growing up. You gave me both a dad and a normal childhood. Now, the fact that Nico is mentioned that she didn't have a dad growing up, and I spoke to Party Chance with this about it, like, what a great twist this would be if it turned out that Nico's father was working with Shikimi and he was the actual true leader of the Warlocks, and he was the one who was like most dead set on reviving Jura for whatever egregious plans he has. Like, it would be pretty amazing if it turns out that Nico's father is the true leader, and actually is Shikimi's dad, which would mean that we get evil dad and evil uncle, which is something that Mission Yosako family did. I mean, Koichiro as an uncle was a little bit weird, but it wasn't necessarily evil per se. No, I want full-on evil dad and uncle in this series. But I digress. Every time Nico thought of Mori as a dad, she felt a little bit of twinge in her heart, a sting. And when she got back to being 14 and all the memories she collected really soaked in, she knew exactly then what this actually was. And this is where she actually gives the proper confession that we've waited the entire series to go. Like, 213 chapters of nearly 5 years. Like, I want you guys to let that sink in. 213 chapters, nearly 5 years, because we've had a few breaks here and there. Nearly 5 years to finally get this confession of Nico confessing to Mori that she is directly in love with him. And it's a gorgeous, like, no background, it's just them two, with Mori just being stunned by the fact that she was like, oh my god, like, is this actually happening at everything right now? And yeah, Carter's just like, oh my gosh, she said it, we've waited so long for this to happen. Yeah, even though again it should be a little bit more awkward of the fact that Nico kind of thought of Murray as a dad, and she's just said like, oh, you gave me both a dad and a normal child. Yeah, it's kind of awkward to think about that, but yeah, let's just get past that. Like, we finally got the confession, and as Maury tries to make his response, and he's like, "Thank you, made your feelings clear to me." Nico just cuts him off. It's like, no, don't do it now. Don't do it now. Now it's my turn to stop you. Hang on to that answer. What I want you to do is that it's that I didn't really intend this to be a confession. I just wanted to tell you how thankful it was, but the words wouldn't stay in. And the high schooler me was going to tell you under that treatment, again referring back to one of the earlier arcs where Nico was about to confess under the tree, but all the antics that happened in those chapters made her cower out the end. So so this is what Nico wants at this moment. She wants him to wait until she's got back to normal before he actually confesses to it. So I'm glad that she's like, okay, yeah, because in this form it's kind of awkward for me to think of you in that light. So wait until I'm back to normal. When I come home, then you can tell me how you feel. And Murray is like, okay, I will. I'm cool with that, Nico. Thanks for letting me know. And she said, and this is where we get to the funniest moment in the chapter that I think everyone agrees is the funniest, where Nico says, "Hey Murray, I know you think you're a stoic guy who never expresses what he's really thinking, but honestly, you're even easier to read than Carnes." And you just see like the bulging eyes, like, wait, really? Is that an actual thing? And Carnage just there like, really? Is that an actual thing? Like, Murray is easier to read than me? Like, the hyperactive spazzy one, less easy to be read than the stoic expressionless one. Yeah, and Murray is just like, what, worse than can't she? And Nico's like, yeah, you're probably the most emotional out of all of us, which, yeah, given what happened in the last chapter, that does make sense, and it's only going to get worse from here on out. So as Murray is hearing the fact that he's way more easy to read than Khan, Nico goes on and says, yeah, you cry more than any of us, you fuss about your hobbies and get super into... That is true. We're still waiting for the jeans chapter episode, because we've seen Murray in the first intro holding jeans. We're still waiting for that jeans chapter. We've only got, like, what? 4 or 5 episodes left of the anime. We need the jeans chapter. Give us the 2 jeans chapters. Just give us an episode dedicated to Murray obsessing over jeans, because that is like one of the truest statements of this series. Like, Murray just getting fussy about his hobbies, super getting into them. Even if he's not interested at first, he will get into a hobby. And he's even more of a worse hipster than Keigo is. Like, no, you really are, Murray. And he's quick to sulk, and for as confident as he is, he can even be a bit more of an attention seeker than Mirio even is. Like, probably thinking like, look at my cooking, look at my cooking, look at my cleaning, look at my cooking, look at my cleaning, guys, like getting attention on that regard. So yeah, Murray is like, the way you've just described me here makes me sound like a pain in the butt, which, yeah, at times you can be, Murray. You've literally demonstrated this in this chapter where it's like, yeah, all I see of you is just a guy doing his duties as a familiar. Like, that is not the way to say that. So no wonder, like, you're thinking that people see you as a pain in the butt when something like that happens. So continuing on, Nico confirms, like, no, you really are a pain in the butt. As Khan is thinking, like, oh, Nico, you're opening up a bit too much here. No, this really needs to be said about Murray, because it perfectly describes his character. Thinking that, like, yeah, I'm emotional as a stoic, nobody can tell everything about me, and they can actually tell everything that happened, because, like Nico says, can read him like an open book. But at the same time, Nico says, just like you're looking out for all of us, we're all looking out for you too. But you know, I like that about you, Murray. I like how you have faith in your tastes and try to teach others about your hobbies, even if they think you're being a pain. So yeah, yeah, you can tell like how dedicated, how serious Murray is to his topics, to the point that he can even make Gene chapters and potentially a Gene's episode look like the most serious, engaging television ever, or reading ever. And again, I am so looking forward to when we get that in the anime. If we do get season 2 of the anime, please give us season 2 of the anime. Nico Katsuya says, I like you try to be as perfect as you can for others, to the point of going overboard and making everyone think that you're a pain. So ever since we met, no, I love you even more now than I did Murray. So she loves everything about him, even the parts that like legitimately make her think, God, he's such a pain in the ass, but God, he's my pain in the ass, and I love him for that. And this is about as far as they can go at this point, because the day comes when Nico has to leave with her mother and band school training, as Khan mentions, like, hey, it's going to be a little lonely without her. And Murray, again, going back to his stoic self, is like, not really, but we can tell, though, like, he's not, like, he does think it's going to be lonely, even though he says, like, it's only a month, it's not that long at all. But, of course, he's missing her already, because the rounds out the chats by everyone says this guy sulking in the living room listening to me distract himself while he impatiently waits for anyone to pay attention to him. So really good, really solid chapter we got there. Like, we got Nico's letter, which wasn't written down but said out in the open, finally confessing like what her true feelings are for Murray, that she's actually in love with him. And even though we don't get Murray's response, we can tell that he's probably going to have some time to think about, do I truly love Nico as a girl, or do I love her in the sense of like I want to protect her, I want to be that guardian figure to her. But again, I don't see why he won't come to the conclusion like, I'm gonna be both for her. I love her as a person, a partner that I want to spend the rest of my life with, but I also love her in the sense that she's the person that's the most important to me, and I want to protect her with everything I can. I feel like that's going to be his conclusion to this. Like, he's going to love her in the sense of a duty to protect her, but also love her as a person as well. And I feel like that's the best step forward for the relationship, because it came to like a natural end point for this development in their relationship, and we can see how it's going to progress moving forward in the series, moving into part three of the series, whatever part 3 is going to be called, because I assume like part 3 is just going to be like the Warlocks trying to revive Juru, and Juru by the end of part 3 taking over Nico. I assume that that's how part 3 is going to end, and then part 4 is just going to be like the final battle between the Warlocks and the Witches and their allies to get Drew out of Nico and get it back to normal, and completely get rid of the Warlocks once and for all. I feel like that's how the series is going to end. Which, if we get part 3 as like an equal length to part 2, which will be about 80, 90 chapters, or maybe a bit longer, and then part 4 is the same as well, like 80 to 90 chapters. I feel like we can get a good solid 400 chapter series of Witch Watch, or at least rounding up to that. It certainly make more sense than having a over 400 chapter series for Rent a Girlfriend, for Pete's sake. I'm sorry, like, how has that series gone on for 400 plus chapters? Like, can somebody explain that to me? Oh my god. But anyway, with this, I feel like it can either go one of two ways. One way where I would like it, and one way where I'll be like, yeah, I really wish this had happened. The one way where I really like it is like we follow Nico through her training for the month. Not, I won't say like necessarily like a long stretch of chapters, not as long as the Day of Disaster chapters. I want to say we're going to get like maybe 6 or 7 chapters with just Nico, Nemu, Charmy, and Ban, just like all the females of the series, like training, developing, getting Nico back to normal, and then maybe we'll come back to find out what Murray and the lads are doing in the Morihito household. So I could see that going like that way as a nice counterbalance. Now, the one part where I'll be like a bit like miffed about is if they just skipped over all of that and went back to Nico being normal. But hey ho, that's something we'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, guys, what did you think of this chapter? Let me know, like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. And this will be Lasherluke signing off. Later, guys.